Oh yeah, we can play the theme song now. Sure.
Let's
now that
do
I told you about my moldy disaster, my moldy disaster. That sounds like a band.
That's our new punk band.
Yeah,
Album coming out next year, 2022.
it's like a punk. Yeah, it is like a punk band.
What was it in my moldy?
Disaster.
My moldy, yeah.
Yeah.
I saw something online. It's like to create an emo band name, you need to take your grandma's name and then the last medical issue you had. So like, I don't know, Helen Depression or something. You know, like.
Yeah. Our first album cover will be my bathroom the night after I drank mold
There
for
you go.
an hour and a half.
Hello and welcome to the Untranslatable Podcast. We are here today to talk about. We are gathered here today to talk about perceptions of marriage. We're going to be talking about just some reasons why some people may or may not get married. Also, I'm curious to take a look to at some different countries and their just marriage rates in general. I'm curious to see how different countries will measure up with one another in terms of marriage and what that might also include in terms of perception of marriage. And also, because we are two bachelors doing this podcast, it is only fair to get some insight from some married folks out there. So I have reached out on our Instagram and my Facebook as well and have gotten some really interesting comments from married and non-married people alike. So we'll be talking about some of those today as well. So I'm really excited. Marriage is a very complicated issue, and people really stand on all sorts of sides of different fences, so we've got a lot to talk about today. So without further ado, I'm joined by my partner in crime, my good buddy, Jared. What's going on, Jared?
Hello, Chad. Hello. Yeah, you can respond to us apparently now on Instagram. I saw that. Chad put out the call. I didn't even know Chad knew how to do that. I'm shocked.
Learning new things.
I was shocked to see you do that. I was like, you know how to actually ask questions on Instagram? I was very impressed.
I was so worried I was going to do it wrong and then get like a text from you like, okay, boomer, like good job.
I wasn't
like,
going to say anything. I wasn't going to say anything except for good job. I loved it. A little part of me, I can't express sort of the butterflies I get when I open my Instagram and I see Untranslatable Podcast. I was like, because I was like, I didn't do anything.
Did our account get hacked? What happened?
I was like, oh God, am I going to see some sort of like a link to some sort of sex websites? But
that's
I don't.
Our next episode. No.
I see sex websites. I see a poll on our Untranslatable Instagram. By the way, keep it up. This is how you know the pandemic has really hit a certain level where Chad's just voluntarily posting stuff on Instagram, asking questions, asking for feedback. I'm like, oh no, what's happening over there? It's not okay. Apparently also on his Facebook you can find him too. Speaking of which, you can find me on Facebook Marketplace. Your boy's having a clearinghouse sale right now. I'm getting rid of shit, dude.
Are you really?
Facebook Marketplace is exhilarating. I'm moving soon. And I'm downsizing. I need to get rid of some stuff. Dude, I sold a futon today that I've had forever for like $20. I put it up for $50. No one cared. I put it down to 20. It was sold within like 30 seconds.
Nice.
It's so exhilarating, by the way. This is my first time ever experiencing Facebook Marketplace, especially on the selling side. I've never really have sold stuff in general.
Okay.
And so Facebook Marketplace is exhilarating, dude. So I sold this futon today, and this older couple came and picked it up, and they, I helped them take it out, but I needed help. Obviously, I couldn't do it by myself. And the woman, she was like, "Are you selling anything else?" And she like peeked into my house and looked around.
That's
I'm
hilarious.
like, no, just the sofa or futon. And I was like, stop looking at shit. What are you looking
funny.
at?
That's hilarious.
She was
you sure you
like,
want this? You sure?
and I was like, just take the futon and let's go.
Right. I got shit to do, lady.
But yeah, I'm
funny.
I'm loving Facebook Marketplace. So what made you go to Instagram? What made you even think to do that?
Well, before we get to that, I've sold a couple of things on Facebook Marketplace as well,
Okay.
Jared.
Yeah.
It is for sure. I mean, it's crazy how quick. I mean, it's like it's kind of like Craigslist on steroids a little bit, to be honest with you.
The first thing I gave away, I didn't even sell, and there were two like old wooden end tables. and I click post, or within 30 seconds I was bombarded. I
Nice.
was bombarded, and I was immediately like, I should have probably charged for that.
Right. Well, I know some people who will get
But
free.
that was still exhilarating. I was still like, ooh, what else
Right.
can I get rid of?
Well, I've been thinking about that too, just going through my stuff, and my dad actually has been asking me about opening up an eBay store. So because he's got some like cool art
That's funny.
stuff that.
Because I feel like now saying, hey, you should open up an eBay store sounds real old.
That's true. I mean, yeah, we could post it on Facebook. Maybe we'll have to post it on Facebook Marketplace.
I'm selling a car, and I'm selling it on Auto Trader. And
Any
one
nibbles?
of my friends, yeah, I got some nibbles. I might be
Nice.
gone in a week or so. But one of my friends was like, nah. Marketplace. He's like, take it down. He was literally like, you're wasting your money and time. Take it down.
Why do you have to pay? Do you have to pay money to put it on Auto Trader?
Yeah, it's $50.
Oh damn, dude! Yeah, put it on Facebook Marketplace, man.
Well, at this, I've already paid the $50, and it lasts
That's
for
fair.
a month. So, and I think it'll be gone soon anyway. But yeah,
It is a pretty pimpin' ride.
But Auto Trader, that has nothing to do with it. Thank you for
Right.
helping me. Yeah, if you're interested, it's a pretty pimpin' ride. Type that in to Auto Trader. I'm sure
That's
you'll
right.
find it. But yeah, Auto Trader makes me feel like an old person, kind of like your dad saying we should open an eBay store. It kind of sounds like an old thing to do now, even though, you
Right.
know, it is the internet.
Right. You know, it's not an old person thing to do, though, Jared, is
What's
post some
that,
polls on
Chad?
Instagram.
That's true. That's
And
true.
so the
Has your
reason
dad
why,
done
Jared,
that?
well, sadly, my dad's not on Instagram.
That's too
God
bad.
knows what kind of shit he would post if he had an Instagram. I have no idea. I think your dad's on Instagram, isn't he? I thought I saw
Yeah.
him as like a suggested on mine.
Yeah.
Maybe I should check.
He doesn't really post that much.
I bet you if it's anything like we've talked about with your parents, I bet you there's either some food posts on there, there's some wine posts on there. Am I right?
Yeah, you've seen
Nice.
it. Yeah, that's
Nice.
That's it. You got it.
Okay.
But
Well,
there's
I
only
mean-
like 9 pictures on there too. It's not even like there's a whole gallery.
Right.
You know, it's
That's
not
fair.
like he's. Oh, there's also he likes to go fishing too. There's one or two
Nice.
of him.
You're not really a
and
big
some-
fisher guy, are you?
No, not
Yeah,
really.
me either. Me either. And a lot of my family really love to fish too. I don't know why that didn't
What,
catch
what are
on.
we talking about? What are we
Anyways,
talking about right now?
Instagram.
What-
So the reason why I asked that poll, sorry, we're going off on tangents here. The reason why, Jared, is because both of us are single, non-married men. So I figured it would be good to get
Oh,
perspectives of other people.
We have no right to talk about this. We need to go to the people, is what you're saying.
Exactly. Power to the people. Let's hear from some of the experts. And so just to tease for later when we talk about this, I got some feedback. One person who responded to my poll was a former teacher of mine, one of my favorite teachers. Her and her husband actually just celebrated 50 years of marriage, which is quite an accomplishment. So
This is
so
a college professor or a high school teacher?
no, elementary school teacher.
And you guys are Instagram friends?
Facebook.
Oh, okay. How did so you just posted it as a status
on Facebook, yeah.
Okay.
Status.
How active are you on Facebook?
I'm a lurker on all my social media.
When's the last time you posted an update of any sort to Facebook?
Here, let me look. It's been a while.
It's not that serious. It's not that serious.
It's been quite
anyway,
a while.
what
Yeah.
did the post say that you posted?
I just said, Facebook peeps, I'm doing a bit of research. What are your thoughts on marriage? Basically, more or less the same thing I said on Instagram. But I knew at least on Facebook there would be a very different demographic than what we would get on Instagram.
Yeah. Get the boomers out.
Exactly. It was funny though. I did get a couple private messages from people like, "Congrats, dude! When's the wedding?" And I'm like, "Nope." Like, nope.
hilarious.
That's not
I've
why
never
I'm
been
asking
more
this.
single.
Right? No kidding. No kidding, for sure. So that was also kind of funny. Like, "Ooh, who's the lucky lady?" And I'm like, "I don't know, man. You tell me."
Yeah.
You
Please.
tell me.
Please help me.
But yeah, so anyways, that's why. So we'll be talking more about some of those thoughts and perspectives later, because I think it's only fair, Jared, if we're talking about perspectives of marriage, to also hear from some of the folks out there who have some marital experience. So
That's fair. That's fair.
should be pretty fun. But you know what's also pretty fun, Jared?
Untranslatables.
Yes, sir. You better
Okay.
believe it. You better believe it.
I don't know why you just put me on the spot like that. I have no idea. I don't know. You could have said shout outs. You could have said, I don't know.
You know what I'm going to say next, Jared.
AMAs. You could have said.
Oh,
you could have
that's
said a
true.
whole bunch
We'll
of
save that
things.
for next episode. I got some good questions again from my students. Once
Okay,
again,
so
though,
I'll get to guess next time, and you'll be like, you know what else I have?
exactly. Got to keep you on your
Keep
toes
me on
a
my
bit,
toes.
Jared,
Yeah,
you
right,
know?
right,
Yeah,
right,
that's
right,
the
right,
that's the phrase. You know,
Yeah.
I'm surprised I don't have it on a coffee mug that I don't just sip after I tell you
I
something.
feel like
that.
that's something that a predator says, keeping someone on their toes. No, you know what it is? Oh, I know. I get it. I'm sorry I called you a predator. That's classic manosphere behavior.
Is
Yes, of course. The negging, the sort of keeping people guessing and not truly telling people's feelings. I get it now.
my pickup target, Jared? So basically, what you're
I
saying
don't know
is
what
I'm
it
a
is. I think
predator.
the manosphere
Is
behavior.
what you're saying.
I think the manosphere behavior bleeds over into everyday life, and even and it's not just about picking up women. It's a lifestyle.
Or I just think it's fun to keep you on your toes. But anyways,
no, I understand that. I understand, and I think it's because the manosphere has ruined you, and that's
has
okay.
ruined me. Fair
That's
enough.
okay.
Well, we're all ruined one way or another.
I'm not
Jared.
going to take your negging. I'm an adult. I don't need another adult to keep me on my toes.
Well, Jared,
but I understand. You've been trained.
lucky for you, you
Born
can
into
roll
this
with
life.
roll with the punches. All right, I'm going to get us started with an untranslatable, which is a word, an idiom, a phrase, axiom, proverb that doesn't always translate on a one-to-one basis into English. My first one for us today, Jared, is Spanish, and it is darle la vuelta, or you could say, I believe, darle la tortilla. And this
That's
is
real tongue twister, first of all.
yeah, darle la vuelta. Yeah, it's tricky to say, and
That's too many R's and L's too close to each other.
right? No kidding. But this means, Jared, to flip the tortilla or flip the omelet.
Okay. To flip the tortilla or to flip the omelet. Is that to like the? I don't know. I feel like that's how like they were saying, let's switch things up on MTV in the early 2000s. Let's flip the omelet.
I mean, you're
and then they turn around to look at camera 3 and they keep talking.
I mean, kind of yes, yeah. I mean,
Perfect.
I would say this
wish I
is
had a ham horn.
more so. For example, you could use this like with sports. So say
change your strategy.
okay, so you
Flip
change
the
your
omelet. You got to come at a new approach. You're like, I got to totally rethink what I'm doing here.
Yeah. We have an idiom though, or an untranslatable that is that has to do with the word tide.
Oh, so it's like things are turning in your favor now.
What
What it is? The tide is turned. Is that? Or
Yeah, exactly.
The tide is turning
exactly.
in your favor?
Turn the tide. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
All right. My first untranslatable is Korean, specifically, I believe, from the southern portion of the of Korea. Jeez, I'm gonna really mess this up. I can put it in here. I can just put it into Google. It'll be easy because this is one of those ones where I'm gonna mess it up so bad that it like I can't. I just can't. So I'll just give you. Here we go. Let's see how this goes.
마음을 먹다.
마음을 먹다. Okay.
Which means?
Which means I ate my mind.
Oh, that's when you're overthinking.
No.
You're dwelling on the past.
No.
No.
So
okay.
maybe you were overthinking, but eventually you have to eat your mind.
Oh, so you forget about something. Or you let it go.
No. I see. That's interesting. You know, our minds are coming at this from clearly different places. Because I feel like I just saw into your soul a little bit through that, but that's not what I meant. I meant actually kind of the opposite, where it's like something's dwelling on your mind. Oh,
so you can't forget it. You have to remember it.
I ate my mind. No. Okay. It's to make up your mind, to make it a decision.
Oh, make a decision. I see. Okay, make a decision. Nice. All right. Well, this next one for you, Jared, is Arabic, and it is. Okay, I'm sure I'll say this wrong, but here we go. Yasum wa yalftar ala basala, which means he fasts, and then he feasts on an onion.
Where it's like it's like you wait for something perfect and then you get an onion. Essentially, I don't know. It's like
Okay.
So it's like you put something on a pedestal almost. Or it's like
you could say that. How would you feel if you put something on the pedestal and then you experience it?
It's like saying don't meet your heroes, essentially. Where it's like
okay, how would you feel if you met your hero? Like, what's that feeling a lot of people say when they actually realize they're humans? There we go. Boom.
Yes.
Hit that ham horn, my dude.
I don't have it.
Oh, that's a bummer.
I do have another untranslatable for you.
Okay, go for it.
Which is even better than a ham horn, I would say. This is Hungarian. And because I have the translator up, I'm just going to play it again because this is another one that I would definitely ruin.
Hungarian's a tricky language.
Elszaladt vele a ló.
Hold on.
Elszaladt vele a ló.
It's interesting because that last it ends in an O.
Elszaladt vele a ló.
But the last letter is just an A, and it goes velao, and so O is the A. Jeez. Anyway, that literally means the horse ran away with him.
The horse ran away with him. Mm-hmm. Is this apropos to today's topic at all?
No.
The horse ran away with him.
Mm-hmm. So,
yeah, give me a clue.
Well, I'm watching a show. Ironically, now that I think about it, the main character is a horse. And the horse ran away with him. And that's sort of the premise of the show.
Okay, so you're talking about BoJack Horseman, who, well, he's like depressed. He's an alcoholic. He was famous, and then just kind of is.
Keep going. Keep talking it out.
He was really famous, but then his life kind of went down the tubes.
The horse ran away with him.
It's
Why
like
would-
to. It's,
Okay, so go ahead.
It's like when you were famous or important and you're not relevant anymore. No? Okay.
You're on the right track, horse track, but not but not exactly. When success goes to someone's head.
Oh, yeah, that's pretty. Yeah, okay. I see that.
That's a sort of I don't want to keep you guessing because that's sort of a tough thing to come, a tough answer to come to, but that's certainly, I would say, a theme of that show. I just watched like 3 episodes right before we started.
Nice. I might have to watch some BoJack tonight. That's it's an interesting show. I started watching it when I was in grad school and used to watch it a lot with my one buddy, and it's an interesting show. All right. My last untranslatable for you today, Jared, is French, français, and it is c'est prendre un râteau.
Could you say that again?
C'est prendre, P-R-E-N-D-R-E,
To take, right?
Yes, very good. C'est prendre un râteau.
I think
Prendre?
Prendre.
Prendre, okay.
Je prends is I take.
take,
I
okay.
believe.
Vous prenons, I don't know the verb conjugation in French. I'm not going to give it a try. This means to take a rake, Jared. To take a rake.
To take a rake?
Mm-hmm.
To take a rake?
Mm-hmm.
Is that like to mess up, to take a mulligan almost? It's just like I fucked up so hard and I'm just going to...
In what way? What way did you take a mulligan? And this is not golf.
In your relationship.
You're getting warmer.
Is it to get divorced?
Well, I would say you could argue divorce is a way you could take a rake.
to leave a marriage, to
I
break up
I
with
would
someone?
I would say you would take a rake probably more often if you're a
Take
dude.
a rake.
If you're, yup, kind of. Well,
So
you
you
would
say that to your significant other?
I think you would say I took a rake.
Oh, I
If
took a
you're the
rake.
p- yeah, I took the
Oh,
rake.
I took the rake. So is it sort of like I took the rake and left?
Yeah. Well, kind of. It means to be rejected.
To
be rejected
See, now
and
that makes
to
perfect
take
sense.
a rake.
It's like, so it's sort of I imagine the symbolism of stepping on a rake and
Right.
having it
Oh,
slam
yeah?
into your head. Like,
Yeah.
I took a rake.
Now, here's something
This is what it
interesting
feels
as
like
well,
to be
Jared.
rejected.
Right, right. That's kind of true. Especially the first couple times you get rejected, it's a little tough. But with French though, Jared, as well, if you say you get hit by a rake, then that means a lover rejected you. So they have two different ones. So to,
So
take,
to take
a rake,
that's just like you're at a bar and you
right?
roll
You're
up
like,
on
hey,
some
baby,
stranger.
Exactly.
Okay.
Exactly. And yeah, you get rejected. Or if you get hit by a rake, maybe I don't know, maybe you're in bed with your wife and you're trying to have a little fun time.
Whose
and
underwear
She's
are
like, not
these?
tonight, honey.
Oh,
Well, that maybe
these
maybe
look like
that
my friend's
too,
underwear.
right?
How do you know what your
just
friend's
came
underwear
over.
looks like?
Right. Oh man. Anyways, Jared, let's talk about marriage. Let's get into it. The perceptions of marriage. So
I'm interested to hear what you heard from the streets.
you
on your
okay?
social
You want to
media.
hear? We want to start with which demographic do we want to start with? Our boomers on Facebook or our
start with
youngins in
Instagram.
Instagram? Okay.
Because I think that's probably what we can most agree with. Not
Right.
even just agree with, but this
Yeah.
most relates to us as
Right.
people in our
Right.
age group.
For sure.
Where
So
we're at in
first of
life.
all, shout out to everybody that responded to us on Untranslatable Podcast
Yeah.
on Instagram. We appreciate it. And shout out to the people who responded on my own personal one. What's up, player? I wish you would respond on the other one, but that's okay. So first comment I got actually. Now I will say demographically
They're not
speaking here,
listening now,
Jared.
by the way, just so you know.
That's true. Demographically speaking, it's kind of interesting. I had way more female comments or comments from women on Facebook, and on Instagram, it's more 50-50. So if you're interested in data and stats, that's maybe kind of cool.
Well,
Anyways,
No, not. I am a male, and I am not on Facebook. So just throwing that out there.
that's fair too. So the first comment I got, so I asked
Not that
on
that means
Instagram,
anything.
what are your thoughts on marriage? So the first comment I got was just, it's great, smiley face. Now this is a former colleague of mine from Michigan State. She is married. She's been married for a few years and has a beautiful baby girl, if I remember correctly.
I mean, she's not wrong. It's definitely great for a lot of people.
Right. Well, see, and that's why I wanted to send out this poll, because I wanted to hear. Because I'll be real with you, Jared. A lot of my current opinions on marriage are not the most positive.
I wonder why.
But I'm also not married, so it's also hard to say.
Have you
So-
ever explored maybe you should, in your relationships, it's not healthy to try to keep people guessing and keep people on their toes? Maybe that's not a healthy relationship.
Do you actually think I do
characteristic.
that in my relationships?
I don't know. You do it in this relationship, so, I don't know.
You're
I'm just
also
saying.
you're also a good buddy of mine that I can
I'm
joke
just
around
saying.
with.
Interesting.
But yeah. Anyways, I mean, if you don't want me to keep you on your toes anymore, I can just tell you play the untranslatable drop if you want. Trying to
Chat
make
stopped
this
keeping me on my
entertaining, Jared.
toes, and I got hit by a bus a week later.
Exactly. I'm keeping you sharp, Jared.
Oh, no.
Okay. Next comment. Nice. So, what are your thoughts on marriage? It is nice, but unnecessary, other than for tax purposes.
Yeah.
So
I get that.
think. Yep.
If
That's
you're
a big one.
if you're in a relationship for an extended period of time with the same person, it makes sense financially to get married. Which that's what they say. I honestly, every time I do my taxes, I just put in the information and hope for the best. I hope the IRS doesn't come knocking my door down.
Right.
But that is definitely what I've heard, is that for tax purposes, it's better to be married than just living with someone for an extended period of time.
Well,
and not
there are
married.
definitely certain laws I think that can work in.
Or if you're like in your deathbed, and you're not married, it's like, oh no, you can't go see this person because you're not related to them.
Right.
Something
Exactly.
stupid like that.
exactly. Which that brings up too, just like rules in our society. Like why is that? You know, it's interesting that why can't a good friend, like what if you are single and you're not married? Like then are you just going to die alone in the hospital?
Yeah, it feels
that
like
how
you
that
should be able to
works?
have some sort of a list of people you're allowed to visit you.
Right. You think. Anyways, let's keep it moving with these because I think some of these comments are kind of cool. This was a good one. And I will say I did keep this poll question broad as possible just to kind of see what type of answers I would get. And this comment was broad question, but they recommended read the marriage plot, which I posted this yesterday, so I obviously have not had time. But it might be
We're not
interesting.
going to read it anyway. Let's be honest. You don't have to pretend that you're going to read it, Chad.
I don't know. It looks interesting because I skimmed through just some like cliff notes of it. Anyways, next comment.
What is it about?
The marriage plot.
You're just going to say read the marriage plot, say you've read some cliff notes and move on? I'm very curious to know what this book is about.
So from the little snippets I read, a lot of it is about like kind of the history of marriage and how marriage like functions in society.
The Marriage Plot is a 2011 novel by the American writer Jeffrey Eugenides. The novel grew out of a manuscript that Eugenides began after the publication of his sophomore. All right, come on. I just want to know. The story focuses on three college friends from Brown University, beginning in their senior year and subsequently following them during their first year post-graduation. All right. That's not useful. Sorry. What did you see?
I must have.
I felt bad putting you on the spot, so that's why I started reading stuff. But now I'm like, well, I wonder if Chad had it. But clearly you don't because now you're looking it up. You don't have to look it up. Don't look it up. Don't look it up. You said I thought maybe you knew because you said you read stuff about it. But if you hadn't,
I just
that's
skimmed some
fine.
stuff, but
That's
clearly
fine. I don't need you to look it up now. That's okay.
All right, next one though.
We're not going to read the marriage plot though.
Next one. Next comment. Still a goal of mine. Getting married. And that was from a
Is
gentleman.
it still a goal of yours, Chad?
Maybe.
Oh no,
open
you
to it.
said earlier at the beginning of this section that you've been soured to the idea of it.
Well, I wouldn't say I've been soured to the idea of it. I'm just cautious because it's a big decision. You know, and what marriage doesn't scare me, Jared. What scares me is the divorce. That's what scares me. Marriage doesn't scare me. I think if you're in a happy and healthy marriage, it could be a really great thing, but I could be wrong about that. I've never been married.
Well, yeah, you can't live scared forever, you know. Always scared of the worst thing that could possibly happen, catastrophizing. You know, people trying to get the best of you. You know.
So are you going to get married?
I don't know. I'm not against it. But I don't know. You know, it's not something I seek out per se, or like it's not like a goal that I'm like, oh, I
check off on your checklist.
Yeah. But obviously I understand the importance of it. I'm not an idiot, and I understand why other people could find the importance in it. And apparently the tax implications are top notch.
That's what they say.
I'm not against it. I'm not against it, and I'm not as afraid of the divorce. I don't think. But I feel like you're very concerned that you're in some sort of scenario where you got like trapped or fooled or tricked. I feel like you're very nervous that you're going to get tricked somehow.
Well, that's what happens when you get cheated on and you are still working through trying to open yourself up a little bit more.
Okay.
You know, so yeah, and trust me, I have heard plenty of stories of guys getting raked through the coals in the divorce process. And you know, you're a pretty high earner, Jared.
It's so funny that you're so concerned. I don't know. It's like, do you have? You're concerned about your third house in Malibu going to your wife, and she did nothing to earn it, or your fourth Ferrari. She's gonna take it and drive it and get the oil changed at Jiffy Lube.
I want all four of my Ferraris, Jared. I work damn hard for those Ferraris, bro.
It's just It's just so funny that you're so concerned about losing some sort of giant wealth.
Well, it's not even. It's
personally, no offense, have not seen.
It's not that I'm worried about losing some giant amount of wealth. I'm worried more so of the physical, emotional, that type of damage that comes with the divorce as well. 70% of divorce, Jerry, is initiated by the wife.
Yeah.
So that's why I'm cautious. Anyways, let's get back to some of these comments. I like this comment. This is a good comment.
Where'd you
I
get that
think
70%, by the way?
I believe it was Psychology Today.
Okay. You don't have to look it up. I was just like, wow. It just took me a second to realize that you just pulled that number out.
Yep.
And I'm
Well,
like,
that's- I
I've
will
learned
say-
that every stat that I've ever heard is a lie.
Well, I will say that's for U.S. marriages. That's
Okay.
for U.S. marriages. So worldwide, it could be very different. But anyways,
Well,
okay.
in some
this,
countries, it most certainly is very different because that's the only way it would happen, is if the male initiated it.
right. That's true, and that's also problematic in a lot of ways.
Sure, of course.
So here's a good comment. I like this one. I think marriage is a sign of trust between two people because they love each other, which I think is definitely a narrative a lot of people have. The concept, Jared, of the concept of getting married for love is actually a fairly new thing.
Interesting. How new is it?
At least what I was reading was, I believe, within the last about 70 years. So that's only three
wow.
generations, right?
That's
I think
actually
three-
70 years is, I guess it's 3 generations. Is it?
I think 3 or 4, maybe.
Probably 3. Probably 3.
Right.
I don't know.
Right. And
I don't know how long a generation is.
Right. But it's so fascinating, though, too, because I feel like that is why.
That's actually a lot sooner than I was expecting.
Mm-hmm.
I thought you'd say like
Yeah.
a few hundred years or something.
Right. Right. And this actually leads me to the next comment I got from, shout out to Mitch, my old college roommate. He said it's patriarchal and only exists for property inheritance. And I thought that was kind of interesting. So Mitch is a buddy of mine. So I asked him, I said, well,
Our college friend Mitch?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Okay.
yeah, my college roommate, at least freshman year.
Oh, did you say that? Sorry, I missed that.
You're good. I did say that, but it's all good. So anyways, I was just curious though, like what do you mean it's patriarchal? And so what he explained was, like, the institution of marriage was created more so that it was the way it was created. It's more for property inheritance. So in the past, before marriage was like a societal cultural institution, when you passed away, your siblings would usually inherit whatever you left behind. Whereas with marriage, then your wife and your kids are the ones who inherit your property, whatever, right?
Yeah.
So that was interesting. I didn't think about that.
I've watched the first season or however many seasons of Bridgerton there are. I don't know. There might be more than one season. I've watched Bridgerton, all of it. That's on Netflix is what I'm getting at. And they're, these British people, dukes and shit. And like, middle level royalty up to high level royalty. And a big part of why marriage happened there was certainly not because of love, really. It was mostly because of class and status. And it's like,
politics.
if I could get in with this family, that would make our family look better. And then most of those, and then not most, all of those or like, part of it is like the groom's family pays for the wife, essentially, because it's like, here's the dowries, they call it, but it's like you essentially are paying them for their daughter.
Right.
And it's like, but in return, we'll take care of her.
Right. Well, what's interesting too is in some cultures they still, I believe, have dowries, while they are kind of nowadays frowned upon. But yeah. Well, see,
Frowned
that's the
upon
interesting.
By whom? I guess I should say.
Well, it depends. I think it depends on how the dowry is set up, right? It depends on which. I don't remember now because we don't live in a culture where dowry is common. But I don't remember now if it's the male's family, the female's family, and how all that works.
Okay, I just didn't know. I just hadn't heard much about it being frowned upon. That's why I was.
At least in the West, I'm pretty sure it's very frowned upon, the idea of dowry, because I think it's kind of the idea of like buying your wife, isn't it?
I guess so. I mean, I understand. I understand what you're saying.
But
like, it would be weird for something like that to be happening in the United States.
Right.
But and I guess it would be frowned upon in that sense. But I guess I was confused because by frowned upon, I thought you meant like I don't hear much about like Westerners looking upon how people in other cultures do their marriage things and marriage ceremonies and being like, they shouldn't do that.
Right.
You know?
I think only
I feel like
certain groups of people in the West might do that.
Okay.
I don't think that your common person in the States, at least, is going to look into that. But the other interesting thing too, though, Jared, is I think where we've come to culturally with everything, the thing that fascinates me so much about marriage is that in a lot of ways, marriage, it makes sense just in like a practicality way, especially if you are to raise a family, right? Like I grew up in a household where both of my parents were married. You know, I think my parents did an okay job raising me. I haven't done anything too crazy or ridiculous or bad that I know of. You know,
But you are terrified of getting tricked.
once again, you paint me out to be this guy who is just so. It's not that I'm terrified. I just know I'm aware of the risks. I wouldn't call it terrified. I would call it just being
everyone
realistic.
else is just ignorant. Everyone else are ignorant fools.
Once again, I never called anybody who's married.
No,
ignorant
that's what
either.
I'm saying. That's what I'm saying.
But I will say though, the fact that I can see how the roots of marriage are very patriarchal in a lot of ways, but I would be willing to argue that nowadays, I would say based on the way relationships are today and what's acceptable in society today, you can have a relationship and more or less be quote unquote married without having that marriage certificate. You know what I'm saying? So
Sure.
So the difference is, I think, is that in the past, just types of relationships, like living with someone of the opposite sex in the, 20s, 30s, 40s, that was probably very frowned upon.
This
You just
person's
didn't
a
do it.
whore. Yeah.
Right. Whereas nowadays you can basically live a quote unquote married life without the piece of paper, without the certificate. And then what that also means though is that if you do part ways, which I mean a lot of couples end, a lot of relationships end
Because of women 70% of the time.
Well, that's a divorce rate in the U.S., Jared. If we're gonna toss facts out like that, we gotta at least say what we're talking about.
I'm just keeping you on your toes. You're right.
Thank
it is
you.
fun. I take it back.
See, it is fun, isn't it? See, I'm actually kind of enjoying you keeping me on my toes. But yeah, so it is interesting though, this idea I think of if marriage today is still patriarchal. Because I'll be honest with you, I think there are certainly a lot of benefits that men can get from marriage. And same with women as well. But this all boils down to, are you in a healthy marriage? Because if you're not in a healthy marriage, I think a lot of the benefits disappear, right? Like, for example, when I was doing research for today's podcast, Jared, some of the benefits that I read were like legal decision making. So as you said, like if you're in the hospital and someone needs to make a decision, like he wants to be resuscitated or he wants to have surgery or she wants to, whatever, you have that person hopefully in your corner looking out for you, right? So that's a big benefit.
Or as
Inheritance
you said
benefits.
also, like if you have kids, it seems like it's easier to be married if you have
Right.
kids.
And I think it in a lot of ways it just makes sense if you're having kids. And it's already hard enough to raise kids. I can't imagine trying to raise kids as a single parent. You know how difficult that is. And then also too when you're and I'm not trying to shame single parents at all. That's not what I'm doing here, but what I'm just saying is when you have either single parents or even divorced parents, just the life of your child changes a lot. You might be going from house to house. It can be a lot of adjustments. I had some friends in high school that their parents got divorced in high school, and it was really hard on them.
All right, Chad, we're talking about marriage, not divorce. Let's let's
that's
get back
fair.
to your
That's fair.
social media.
Here's another one comment that I really liked. One gentleman commented it was the best thing he ever did, and I've read that online and seen that as well. I have a couple coworkers that
You've read that
definitely
online.
say that.
Is that the only place you've seen that? Is online?
Well, I mean, I've talked
You've never
to other
heard that
people
in real
too.
life.
You never know, Jared. I've definitely heard that in real life.
Yeah, no, I think I saw that on Reddit somewhere.
Well, Jared,
someone
considering
saying they liked that they were married.
Jared, you were probably one of the
Hey, I had to
last
dig
people.
for it.
Considering, Jared, you were one of the last people I've seen in real life in about a year. It's a little hard right now to say I've
That's
heard that in
fair.
real life recently, at least.
I mean, that's fair. That's fair. But I
So-
feel like I've heard that my whole life. I've heard various people in my life say that.
Right. Here was an interesting one. This was from a former student of mine, a younger gentleman. I would peg him now in his probably mid-20s. He said, "Won't think about it until I'm 30." And I think this comment does bring up some interesting perceptions as well about marriage. Well, perceptions and truths about marriage, Jared, is I think a lot of people our age and younger, and one of the reasons why I haven't gotten married yet is because I want to be in a financial position where, I have a house, I can afford a family,
And you need to make sure you're in a financial position where you can hire the right lawyer to draft up the proper prenuptial agreement.
Exactly.
To make sure that you keep everything, just in case she eventually, inevitably screws you over. Yeah, no, I understand that. I understand that. But you don't. So how do you feel about the idea of people saying, building something together? Mm-hmm. That's the beauty of it,
I think that's great.
Okay.
I would love that. I would love nothing more to have
but
that.
I feel like that requires trust. I feel like
It does.
I feel like that's the problem that you have, is that you want to be able to, you're preparing for, like, what if she screws me over? Then I'm able to get out of there. What if like just the worst case scenarios is what you want to be prepared for?
Where are you getting all of these ideas?
I feel that's what it feels like. Maybe I'm misunderstanding. That's the vibe I'm getting. It seems like you're very concerned that you're gonna get like taken for a ride, and so you want to be ready and able to bounce back from a divorce, like as financially stable as possible.
First of
with
all,
as
Jared,
much intact as
First
possible.
of all, if I ever get married, once again, I mean, I know everybody says this before they get married, but if I ever do get married, Jared, I want it to be a one and done kind of thing. I don't want to have to go through.
That's noble.
Right. I don't want to go through the court system. If you have children with somebody, you are bonded to them for life. I don't care if you're married or not. You are bonded to that person for life. At least in my opinion. And so for me, if I were to ever get married, hopefully it's a one and done type of thing. And, but yeah,
I guess when I say all this, I wasn't even really factoring in the kids part of it.
Yeah. I will say for me, that would be one of the main reasons why I would be open to marriage is for kids. Because I think if we aren't going to have children,
those would be beautiful vows
have a
at your
family.
wedding.
I know, right? We can write them on the
married,
podcast
so
today,
I guess we can
Jared.
have kids now. Let's do it. This
Right?
is why I'm here. Let's make it happen.
Exactly. Well, I think that's why a lot of people do get married.
Yeah, for sure.
Really, at the end of the day, Jared, why do people get married? To start a family, right?
I don't think people know why they get married when they get married sometimes. I remember for the first I gotta say, well, how long has it been since we've been out of college? 7 years at this point, 2014.
It's been a while, yeah. Mm-hmm.
So I'd say, it's been about 7-8 years. I'd say probably the first 4 years of that, whenever I saw someone get married, I'd be like, okay, good luck. I mean, I guess, but it's like in my head, I'm like, these people think they're in love, but it's like, how do you know? You're freaking 24. But
maybe they are in love.
But it's like you're 24 or whatever. You're 23. I don't, in my immature head, I'm projecting, of course, when I say these things. I'm like, I don't understand how you can even possibly comprehend the fact that you'd be ready for something like this.
Right.
When it's like, I don't know. So, and listen, I love some divorce stats just as much as you do. And the one that always sticks with me is the fact that the younger you are, the more likely you are to get divorced. So you see these high school sweethearts or these college sweethearts, the people that, started dating freshman year of college and they dated all through college and then they get married a week after the graduation. And it's like, okay.
Right. Well, speaking of divorce statistics, Jared, at our age, we have already statistically avoided our first divorce.
But not getting married.
Yeah. Yep.
Yeah, we will not be a statistic. Yeah, Yeah. Okay. Well, great.
We're human beings, Jared. All right, let's get to a couple
Great.
more of these. This was from my friend Kelly. Shout out to my friend Kelly. She said, good for taxes or religion. And that is another important key, I think, is that if you
Yeah.
are religious, I think marriage holds
It's a requirement,
different.
really.
Yeah. Yeah.
If you're
for sure.
actually religious, it seems like it's a requirement.
Well, not only is it a requirement, but I think it's something that a lot of people who are very in touch with their faith, it has a very deep importance in their lives, right? Whereas I think for a lot of people, if you're not religious, you might think, well, I can date this person and live with this person, and we can essentially be married without having all of the formalities of it. I will
Yeah.
say the
Living
thing
in
that does
sin is what they call that.
that is true. I'm losing the word here.
A heathen.
Heathen. Heathen. Exactly. Or it's blasphemy. Exactly. But
That's
yeah.
not. I think blasphemy is a little different. But please continue. You know,
Yeah.
you didn't grow up poisoned by religion.
Oh, it's funny you say that, Jared. All right. Anyways, another former student of mine from the Czech Republic. Shout out to you. Was if you feel like it's the right person and you want to start a family with them and cherish them forever, go for it. So and he's only 18. So wise words from a young gun out there. A great way to show your partner that you really love them, but it's a bit overrated, I think. That was also a former student of mine in the Czech Republic.
Hashtag overrated.
Right, there we go. Former student of mine in Germany, Jared, if you find someone to partner with and who's willing to let you grow, and they will let you grow, then marry them. And the other reason is for tax breaks. So there we go. I've gotten like 4 or 5 comments now about tax breaks.
Yeah, and this is the younger crowd that we just went through.
Right.
This was the
Right.
Instagram bunch.
Exactly. And
That
the
does
last
sound. See what you?
Sorry, that does sound.
No, it's you always love to say the last and then.
This is the last Insta post I have.
Okay,
last
okay,
Insta
okay,
comment.
okay.
So it is the last.
This does sound like it is a group of young people, by the way.
It does. It does.
It is because I feel like the older group. This is going to be my hypothesis before you give the last Insta one. I feel like the older group will be more believe in love more than what we just heard. Please, now the last one.
The last one for Instagram, and this was actually from a friend of mine from high school. I will say she is definitely a bit more on the conservative side of things. She said a healthy marriage. Now
jeez.
I do actually agree with her comment, but she, anyways, a healthy marriage is a great
between
foundation
God.
for healthy future generations. I agree with her. I think if you want to raise kids and we want to have healthy future generations, I do think marriage can certainly be a good thing.
Yeah.
What do you
Sure.
think, Jared? You have kind of you
That just
look a
sounds
little
like-
skeptical.
That sounds like such a Republican talking point. The problem with the black
Today's
community
society.
is there aren't fathers in the household, and that's what's really I mean, there's nothing. I don't know if I agree with that. I don't think there's anything wrong with families and relationships and marriage and all that stuff. But I don't know if that necessarily is necessary for society to flourish.
Well, I would argue at least a 2-parent household would certainly help future generations. That would be my argument.
I think it is statistically proven that children do better in 2-parent households than a 1-parent household. Do you love your statistics? Do you don't have a number for that one?
I don't have a number for that.
Okay.
I don't. All right, so now, Jared, let's move on to Facebook, though. Yeah,
Yes.
so we can get some more of the...
Hear what all the aunties and uncles
Exactly.
and grandmothers have to say.
Exactly. So this was from my, I don't remember. I think she was my first grade, either kindergarten or first grade teacher. She said, if you're asking, you're probably not ready, which is a great point. I have a feeling if you are going to get married, I have a feeling that you probably would just know. But I could be wrong about that. I'm not married.
Yeah.
I'm
Or
not
if you're
married.
listening to this podcast, I feel like it's clear that you're not ready. She's talking about you
probably.
specifically. She's not
Yeah.
talking about.
Yeah.
I feel like she's talking to you. She's not just saying that in general.
I mean,
you
she-
made it seem like she's just saying that in general. I think
she was talking.
to you.
She was talking to me.
You
I
didn't
agree.
phrase it like that. You phrased it like she was just like throwing it out there to the people.
Right? No, she was talking to me, but I do think I do think you can throw this out to the people.
Sure,
I think,
of course.
Yeah.
It works for the people.
Exactly.
It does sound like you're not ready, clearly, just by listening to you. You sound very afraid.
Well, I also haven't met the person that I'm thinking about marrying, which
Sure, of
also
course.
makes a big difference as well.
Of course.
All right, and as
You
I said,
think,
I tried.
do you think you're just going to know when you get to that person?
I mean, I thought I knew with my ex, so it's hard to
Right.
say. It's hard to say.
You love a relationship though. You're always in a relationship, you know. Like so it is an interesting sort of dichotomy hearing you talk like this about your fears of a long-term of marriage.
I will say, Jared, I would much rather be with one person than just casually seeing a bunch of
Dating
people
around forever.
Right. Right.
I
It's
mean,
a lot
I've
of time and energy.
You're that's it is, that's for sure. And that is what your as long as I've known you, that's how it's borne out. A lot of long-term, you know.
Yeah.
Not a lot, you know, I don't you know what I mean. You know what I mean.
Right.
More long-term relationships to like dating around and stuff.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. I don't like being a player.
Yeah, I don't want to. Yeah. Oh, how's the song? I don't want to be. I'm not a player. I just crush a lot.
Isn't that the definition of a player if you're crushing it a lot? Anyways.
I don't want to be a player no more. Oh, that's what it is. It's Fat Joe, and that's what it was. Anyway, sorry. Let's hear some more Facebook.
So as I said, I tried to leave this vague just to see what people would say, and then I from our former adult mama Mary, she said, "What about it? It's a broad question," which is like, yeah, okay.
Oh, it's Big Pun, not Fat Joe. Excuse me, I couldn't leave that out there. Just
there we
wrong
go.
like that.
I got a couple comments from people saying, "I like mine" or "doing pretty good so far."
This is real, like older people stuff, where it's like their answer is more just like, been in it for 45 years. It's going good so far,
Right. Right.
Where it's almost like a given, though. They're speaking about it like it's interesting, even just how the questions are answered. All these
Right.
people, because it feels like these people are talking about it like it's obvious that it's that it's happening,
Right.
And everyone on Instagram's like, well, if that were to happen, this is how I might feel about the potential of that happening. And these
Right.
people are like, well, it's happening, obviously.
Right. Well, and
So
CJ,
here's
that's
how I
why,
feel about it happening.
Exactly, and that's why I posted this up on Facebook as well, because I just knew we would get way different results.
For sure.
So this one is probably one of my favorite comments I got from my question. This was from a former German professor of mine. She was one of my favorite
Perry
professors.
Oh, no. Okay.
It wasn't Perry. It was at MSU. I would have loved to hear Perry's thoughts if he would
Are
have
you
commented.
social media friends with him?
I
He doesn't
think
seem
I
like-
am. I think
He
I
doesn't
am.
seem like someone that's that active on social media.
I know he's on the gram. He's on the gram for sure.
Yeah.
Because I saw him post something. I think he's in France actually. But anyways.
Oh, nice.
I know, right? I wish I could be over there. Anyway,
Yeah.
so my former German professor, she said, it is complex, I think. It gives access to legal rights for some people that are crucial for them being together. For example, hospital visitation, also immigration, which was a reason why I really looked into marrying my ex, was so we could easily be in the same country. Because if you're married, you don't have as much of the visa issues that you have otherwise.
Yeah.
So that's
you have
another
to go
big
through the
thing.
process, though, where you have to prove that you guys are actually in love and that it's not
Yep.
just a visa thing.
Right.
Kiss
right.
in front of us. Tell us what you really like about this person. What makes
Exactly.
them special to you?
What's their birthday? What's their middle
Yeah,
name?
oh,
What's their
shit.
favorite fruit? Yeah. Joint custody as well. For children, because legal rights are different. My buddy's a lawyer, and he commented on this thread as well, which was fascinating.
Is
just
that
to
the
hear from
guy
a lawyer's perspective.
we had tacos with
Yes, sir.
pre-pandemic.
Yes, sir.
Yeah.
Yeah, and he
you
said,
probed him. You probed him on legal questions then too.
"Oh, I do all the time." See, Jared, you're
I
not
don't
the only
blame
person I keep on my on.
Listen,
on
I don't
their
blame
toes.
you. If I had a lawyer friend, close friend, I'd be asking legal questions all the time.
I'm lucky, Jared. I have a doctor buddy. I have a lawyer buddy. I can just hit him up if I have random questions. It's great.
The doctor buddy's got to be the worst. Like for the doctor, like
Right.
the questions that the doctor friend get from people, like, oh my god,
Yeah.
hey, I got this wart on my penis. Is this cool? Like, it's like, listen, you can't just because I'm a doctor doesn't mean you can just send me pictures of your penis for me to diagnose.
Right.
Chad.
Right. Oh, man. I will say it was good asking him questions about the vaccine. He gave me some really good
that's
answers,
good.
which was
Yes.
pretty cool. But yeah, so anyways, back to this comment from a former German professor of mine. So then again, she mentioned legal rights for people. Then she says, then again, it's also not an option for all people, which is why I think it should be boycotted until it comes with the same legal rights for all. I never thought I would get
a bold
married because
statement.
it is just a piece of paper. But having been married for 17 years, I do like talking about my husband and am quite proud to be his wife.
So she's
it was.
Oh, sorry. I thought that was the end. Go ahead.
No, it keeps going. So it was also nice to
I
celebrate.
forgot this was Facebook.
Right. These are longer comments. Exactly. It was nice to celebrate our love with others, but in all honesty, I would be absolutely fine just being with my husband if we could have some of the legal protections without marriage. I do think people get married and divorced too quickly in this country, in the U.S. I would agree with that. There is a lot of pressure here.
Yeah. I'm trying to like
There's a lot to unpack there.
I'm trying to take it in, and I'm trying to figure out like what I want to comment on. I will say first of all, it's interesting that she's saying that she thinks it should be boycotted until everyone has the right to be married. That's very noble, especially coming from someone that is married. What are you going to get divorced and refuse to get remarried until everyone else can? I found that a little funny, where it's like, it's interesting that you feel that way, but you've been married for 17 years. So how strongly do you feel about this idea of people boycotting it or whatever? But yeah, I mean, that's how I generally, you know, I've spent a solid 16 minutes roasting what she just said, but I agree with her. I agree 100% where it's like, I feel like that's how I feel, where it's like there's clearly benefits to it, but I'm not like in any sort of like the idea of marriage specifically is not anything that I'm like sort of like, oh, I need this or it needs to happen. But like I can clearly see the benefit of it, and I'm not so against it to the point where I'm like, but sometimes it is like. Why? Yeah, I also agree in the sense where it's like, why do we live in a society, man, where we have to?
That's right, man.
where we're even incentivized to be in a relation in a marriage. You know,
Right.
why is the government incentivizing that? Besides for
Exactly.
kids, I get the kids thing. That does
Exactly.
make sense.
That is the big thing, Jared. That is the thing that I find so fascinating about marriage is, why do I need to sign this piece of paper that the state needs to recognize? Why do I
Yeah.
need to get the government involved in my personal business? Now, I get it when exactly with kids and with legal rights, it makes sense, but it is kind of, you know, it's interesting that as human beings,
but even still, why do you have to be? You could still. I mean, I get it with kids. Actually, I'm not even going to try to argue against it. Never mind. Keep going.
Okay, this comment made me laugh here. It was from a former teacher friend of mine. He said, "Don't need it, can't afford it." What
Can't
are your thoughts
afford
on
it.
marriage? Don't need it, can't afford it.
What do you mean can't afford it? It's
Well,
not
think-
that expensive if you just go to the courthouse.
Wedding, okay, sure, that's true. But how many people out here really are just going to the courthouse? I think it would be very difficult to meet somebody who is down to earth enough that they would just be like, and there are some people out there, sure, but I think it would be
I
difficult.
think you could find that. I think you could find that. I think you could. I don't think I don't. I mean, I'm not gonna say it's easy, but I don't think it's hard. I think you could find someone that is okay with marriage, but not interested in some sort of big ceremony. I'm an introvert, and the idea of having some big ceremony where I walk down an aisle and people clap for me, and I give a speech about my love to a whole bunch of strangers just in the hopes that they'll give me some money, that is like a nightmare to me, you know? And then you got to do the first dance in front of a whole bunch of people. I don't think that being a nightmare to me is that uncommon of a personality trait or feeling. So I don't think it's that hard. I don't think it would be that hard to find someone that feels similar.
We can agree to disagree on that one, Jared. I think there
Okay.
are people out there, but I think I would be willing to bet that your average person nowadays either doesn't want to get married, or if they do want to get married, I feel like I hate to do this, but I feel like it's kind of
There's
you're
no
in
in
one camp or
between.
the other. Exactly.
Either no marriage
exactly.
or we're doing it big.
Exactly.
Call every third cousin you've ever slightly
Right.
met.
Right. Exactly. Now, obviously, that's not completely true, but yeah. But I will also say this though too, Jared. I mean, about the don't need it, can't afford it. We also have to take where this person is coming from. This is an older friend of mine. He's, I would guess, probably in his mid 40s or 50s.
He's your friend?
Well, he was actually a former teacher of mine, and we
okay.
played in a rock band together, and that's kind of how we became friends.
Okay.
He's a super cool guy.
So he is your friend.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. And so, well, hey, we're Facebook friends, so if that
Yeah,
doesn't mean
that
you're
says it all.
friends, Jared. But anyway, so I will say though, when I've been in relationships, I definitely I spend a lot more money when I'm in relationships. You know, taking your girlfriend out to dinner, buying them gifts, you know, all sorts of different stuff. You know, so
Sure.
you know, it does definitely make a difference. And I think for at his age too, I think
He can't afford to he can't afford to yeah, but I hear you, by the way, but when you put it like that, you make it seem like some sort of chore when theoretically you're giving these people gifts because you enjoy to see the joy
sure.
that they'll get from receiving it. You make it seem like, well, it's your birthday, now I have to give you a gift, here you go, I hope it's good enough, now it's Valentine's Day, here you go, more money for you. When yeah, I guess that's what is happening, but theoretically you should be getting some joy from this too.
Which I find funny that you're saying, because you know how much I love giving people gifts.
Exactly, and you make it seem like a job.
Well, it's not a job, but the reality of the situation is when I've
give
been in
great gifts.
relationships, I spend more money than when I'm not in relationships. When I'm not in
Yeah.
relationships, I save more money.
I mean, I
That's
guess
all
I
I'm
do
trying to
too, for sure. But I guess maybe it's privileged where I can say this, but it doesn't. But I feel
We're
like
not all ballers like
for the
you,
most
Jared.
part, yeah, you know, just because I can run private jets and stuff, but it doesn't. I guess I don't look at it that way. Like I don't look at it as like, look at my bank statement now versus you know, when you're around and I'm buying you stuff as well. I don't know. I guess I just don't look at it that way.
I mean, I don't
even
really
if I
look-
even if I might have more money now versus which I'm not even saying is the case. I'm just saying if that were the case, I don't know. I guess I just don't look at it that way.
Right. Yeah. Well, anyways, that was just kind of relating to that comment. This was a hilarious comment. This one made me chuckle. One of my buddies wrote, all four of mine have been working for me. So that was pretty funny.
Yeah, that sounds like a real Facebook joke right there.
Yep, for sure. My buddy,
Simultaneous, is that what they're implying, or this is the fourth one?
I don't know, but I responded with a Borat gif going, very nice, because I think that's appropriate for a goofy ass joke.
Another
like
great
that.
Facebook response right there.
Exactly. My one buddy did comment about some of the legal reasons, like, you know, child protection. That's hilarious. I just noticed his wife. That is so funny. His wife commented and said, Kyle, that's your response? Oh, that's funny. Oh, sorry, Kyle. Sorry, buddy, if
That's
you ended up
hilarious.
sleeping on the couch. Oh, that's funny. This was from a I mean, I would call her a friend. I hung out with Nicole a little bit in
Let's hope
college.
she doesn't listen to this. Oh, she
Probably
I mean,
not.
no one does.
Let's be
but-
realistic. Probably
No,
not. But this was a college friend of. Well, really,
I
so
would
she's.
love if she did though. She's like, sorry, I thought I was supporting friends, but okay, I see
Right.
how it is.
Well, hey, let us know. That's for sure. But what she said was, so she's been married for I think 5 or 6 years, and she said, I'm glad we waited so long to get married. I
Is
think
this-
people.
Oh, sorry. This is
This is someone we went to college with. So she said, I'm definitely glad we waited so long. I think people change so much from year to year, especially when you're young and the early stages of your relationship. My husband and I talk about absolutely everything and know we can be completely honest with one another. See, I would love a relationship like this, and I'm pretty sure they do have a relationship like this because I know both of them and they're fantastic people. I don't
So-
think marriage is right for everyone, but I think relationships tend to have a better foundation the less you rush things and the more you communicate openly.
That's yeah. I mean, how could you argue with that?
Yep, that's some good marriage wisdom.
Chad, do you get pressure from anywhere in your life to get married?
Nope.
No.
Nope.
Okay.
Nope. It helps though that I have a niece and 2 nephews, so you know grandkids are already there. So so there
They-
isn't, and I know
As
my
the
parents
youngest,
would.
they need nothing from you except for just to be cute and take care of them.
Exactly. And I'm so great at both of those
And
things.
then they'll
Jared,
drive you to
so-
get your vaccine.
Exactly. But hey, I take them out to lunch afterwards.
By the way,
Jared,
get
so-
my second shot in a couple days. Woo.
Nice. Couple days. Really?
Yeah, well,
I thought
I mean,
it'd be like
from-
a week.
From when this comes out on Monday. I get it on Thursday.
Oh, nice. Well, I guess I'm getting it on that Sunday, so it does make sense. Mm-hmm. So we're both gonna be fully vaxxed, back together
Technically
soon.
in 2 weeks. I mean, theoretically, technically, you're fully vaxxed 2 weeks after that.
Right. Well,
To be fair.
we'll see if we're going with the technicalities. Tune into some future episodes and you can find out. All right, so a couple other comments here. And this was from Wally, who's a fraternity brother of ours. Also lives in Detroit. Shout out to Wally. He said, not necessarily, but I'd like. This is a great comment. I'd like to do it because I like fancy parties and fancy rings. So there you go. Get your bling bling up, your fancy party. You're good to go. A buddy of mine from high school.
I mean, that is a big part of it. The
Right?
jewelry.
Oh, for sure.
The big diamond, the diamond industry.
3 months
what
of
is
your
it, the
salary, right?
beers. Yeah, but that's just something that literally is just like a marketing thing that the diamond industry like made up. And
the
and it's
wedding
just,
industry is a huge industry, isn't it?
Sure, of course. My sister got married a few years ago, and it was. I mean, it wasn't like I was gonna say quite the ordeal. It really wasn't, I guess, in the grand scheme of things. But like, there's the wedding planners. There were 2 wedding planners. I don't know if they worked together. I don't know how that worked. You got all the food, all the booze, the getting the right. Getting the right venue, if you want to get it in the proper time of year, you're probably paying twice as much or whatever. Yeah, no, I mean, people.
If you have
like,
an open bar, that's like
something
5,
that we
6
haven't even
grand.
mentioned, and I think is a part that is a big part of why people like to get married is the party in itself, because it is
Yeah.
a great time. I love going to weddings. Weddings are some of the
Yeah.
funnest parties to go to.
I'm
Can
going
you
to
say
a couple this summer.
The funnest
If-
is that a
yeah.
is that an okay thing
Yeah,
to say?
yeah, they're the
Okay.
funnest. Yeah, you can definitely say that.
Yeah, weddings are some of the funnest parties to go to.
Hoping to go
open
to
bars.
two of them this summer. Yeah, open bars, just the
A meal.
atmosphere. Right. Right. Well,
You
and
get
too,
to
if
wear
it's
a
a good
suit.
friend,
It's always fun to wear a suit
Right.
just out of nowhere for no reason. I love that every now and again. Just put a suit on.
right? Gotta be
partying in
careful
a
though,
suit
Jared.
does feel nice, I will say.
It does. But I have to say, you got to be careful with those open bars. I went to a cousin of mine's wedding. I think 22 or 23. Took full advantage of that open bar. It was a year or 2 years after I could legally drink in the States, and woo.
I never have gone crazy, but probably the closest to going a little crazy at an open bar was certainly when one of my friends invited me to his cousin's wedding. So I was a stranger at this wedding.
Okay.
And that was one where it's like, it was just going to the bar was more just like something to do, because I didn't know anyone. But I didn't get too crazy. But that's certainly
That can
one
be
of
a dangerous
I'm
game.
still like, listen, it's a wedding. I'm wearing a suit. There's an open bar. This is fine. I can do
Right.
this.
Exactly.
Weddings are a good time.
Oh, for sure.
And wedding culture in general is
we need to do an
around the
episode on
world.
that. Yep, we need to do an episode on that. I'm going to
Because
text you that now.
there are some like some Middle Eastern cultures where like I just see the dancing and the level of parties that they do on social media, and I'm like,
Oh, for sure.
Or like some like I don't know, I was like, this just looks like a hoot.
Yeah,
a hoot
I mean,
and a
they
half.
are extravagant events.
Yes.
Yeah, for sure.
And they're just throwing money at people, literally and figuratively, just like showering in gifts. And I mean, it's great. As I'm saying,
Right.
greatest parties are weddings. I'm gonna say
Speaking
it.
of weddings across cultures, Jared, this leads me to my next comment on Facebook. Shout out to Candace. She's actually a friend of mine back in Jinan. And she said, and she's Chinese, she said, when it comes to marriage, there is a big difference between West and East. And I agree with her. I think in China, marriage is looked at more as you want to find the best person that you want to raise a family with. It's not about love.
It's like a business decision, but for your family, essentially.
Yeah. Well, I mean, wedding is kind of a business decision in a lot of ways.
Sure.
If you look
Well,
at,
I mean, that's most of not most, but a good portion of the comments were saying getting married for tax reasons or for financial purposes.
Right.
And that's, essentially saying that it's a business decision.
right. And I will tell you, I know of plenty of teachers that I talked to in China. A lot of the English teachers I worked with were women, and a lot of them, they did not. They talked very lovingly about their children and their family, but not so lovingly about their husbands, because I think
Now-
over there it's just a different
okay.
expectation.
It's like this. So now, am I right in saying that in China, at least, that marriage is more of just like an expectation, like it's assume
Yeah.
that it's going to happen. And
Well,
it's
here's
just
the
like,
crazy thing about, and once again, this is kind of one of the negative things about marriage is the stress and the pressure and the societal pressure it puts on
Mm-hmm.
people. Because, for example, Jared, if you are a woman in China, if you aren't married by about the age of 27, 28, a lot of more older traditional
It's like, what's
Chinese
wrong with
people
you?
will call you. I believe the term is shengnu, if I remember correctly.
I'm sure that's offensive somehow.
Well, and it means I think like leftover woman. Yeah, it's very
Oh,
offensive.
jeez.
It's very offensive, and it's
And
really
it's like
a
you
shame.
assume that there's something wrong with them at that point, if they're not
Right.
Yeah.
Exactly. Which is kind of a shame, because in the West, I think people, especially our generation, were waiting longer and longer for the most part to get married.
Let's hope so, because I'm getting old. No, it does feel that way. I mean, we're the generation, the millennials, of just like, at least stereotypically, not having our shit together financially,
Right.
And then also I think there's more of an expectation these days of a relationship where both parties are working. You know, back in the day when our parents were when our parents were growing up, the idea of like one parent working was feasible and a lot more common.
Yep.
But now, like, to me, I can't even fully fathom the idea that I'd just be supporting another full grown adult completely, you know, where it's like in the same sense where it's like I couldn't fathom, because in that situation, at least back in the day, there's that sort of, stereotype of like, you come home and you expect like a clean house or whatever and like food, but it's like, but I'm bringing home the money or whatever, where it's like every part of that aspect of that sort of dynamic doesn't really make any sense to me.
Right.
The idea of just expecting one person to cook and clean completely and then me just be like responsible for finances. And it's like, I feel like for our generation, that just concept in general is just almost like
It's not
like
really
it's
possible.
not really possible, and I think it's kind of offensive almost. Like it's sort of antiquated. Like that expectation from someone is very antiquated.
Well,
I feel
I agree with you that it is very antiquated as well, but I do think one of the issues is that if people do want to have a more quote unquote traditional lifestyle where one person is the breadwinner, the other one is the stay-at-home parent, I think a lot of people get flack for that nowadays, which is too bad, because at the end of the day, what's more important than raising your kids? I mean, yes,
You think
obviously
people
your
get flack
career.
for that?
Oh yeah, for sure.
Okay.
I mean, have you not heard of, like, there was some article floating around online about this woman posting how proud she is to be a stay-at-home mom, and she got eviscerated by a bunch of, kind of more far left feminists who said,
Oh, I did not hear about that.
yeah, oh
I think
yeah,
I
mean,
was watching a Chet Hanks video about White Boy Summer.
better way to spend your time, Jared. All right, I have a ton of these Facebook comments, but let's just go through a couple more, because if we went through all of these, it would take forever. But this was another really good one.
Yeah, some
This was from
some ones that you like.
This was from a friend of mine who I met in graduate school, and she said, "I married the wrong person the first time. I'm glad for this experience, though it was
she was,
very
like, still
painful."
married to that
and
person.
well, here, just
I married the wrong person. We're still together. It's terrible.
Hold your horses, Jared. Here we go. So I married the wrong person the first time. I'm glad for the experience, though it was very painful, and I learned a ton about myself and what love means. I recently remarried someone much older than me, and now, granted, this is a woman who has married another woman. So her female wife. Well, I guess that's redundant, right? A wife is a female, I guess. Anyways, I recently remarried someone much older than me, and she's my best friend. It's completely different night and day. Like, I cannot even put into words how different the dynamic is. I think it's good to pause and ask why exactly we want to marry somebody. Good question. The tax break? To make it easier or safer to start a family? Because it seems like the right thing to do. All of these reasons All of these reasons are used, I know. For me, choosing to do it a second time wasn't about the piece of paper. We feel no more committed to each other now than we did before, and I think my first spouse would agree with that as well. But we want to start a family together, buy a house, etc. So it would be
Practical
logical
purposes.
for us. Exactly. It's definitely not for everybody, and I encourage you to keep asking all the questions.
That definitely makes sense as far as
Mm-hmm.
like the second time around. Like the idea of marriage really loses a lot of its sort of majesty.
Yeah.
And so it's like at this point, I feel it makes sense that it's a lot easier to just look at it rationally rather than like this is something I have to do or like I'm madly in love. We must get married. It's more like I mean, nothing has changed here, but we want to have kids, and it's just going to be easier this way. So let's just be realistic, practically.
Right.
And but that does sound like that's someone that has had the experience, and it's like I've gone through this. I have no real connection to marriage. It doesn't really mean anything to me,
Right.
Because I've already been divorced,
Right,
But
exactly.
it's easier to do it this way because we want to have kids.
Right. And yeah, it makes a lot of sense. And here, this is actually a former boss of mine, but she's a great woman. Marriage is a commitment. It's great. It's fun. It's exhausting. It's drama. It's chores. It's vacations. It's work. It's silliness. It's a lifetime. Be best friends first. And remember, the low times sometimes are the best memories or
Yeah.
times of growth, which is great advice.
That does sound like a Facebook response. That sounds like someone with some marriage experience.
Yeah, and they've been married for at least 20 years.
It sounds like it. That sounds like a
Yeah.
Facebook response. And
Right.
that's no what's the term? That's no insult to that person. It just sounds like someone that has some experience is all I'm
Right.
saying.
Exactly. And that's why I'm so glad I posted this on Facebook, to be honest with you, Jared, because as I was typing this post out, the status, I was just like, oh God, here we go. What's going to come up here? And I'm glad I did, because I learned a lot from a lot of these comments.
And a lot less cynical, and there's a lot of practicality in there,
Mm-hmm.
but I still feel like less cynical than the Instagram. The
Right.
Instagram was, I feel like, a lot more just like making it seem like this is what the old people want us to do, kind of thing.
Right.
But there's still practicality with the older quote unquote group, but the practicality is still there. But I think there's a little bit I feel like you soften a little bit with age as far as your idea of like love and marriage goes.
Sure.
I imagine. So the older, they have a little bit more like respect for it than the younger
Right.
people do, including me probably. Let's be honest.
Well, right.
I'm one of the younger people.
Another big reason why I wanted to post these out there is because we're talking about perceptions, and I figured my perception and your perception as both single, unmarried males are not going to be. It's not going to be that much, to really talk about. And I'll be honest with you. I'm still very cautious and skeptical about marriage, because I do know that if you I guess let me just leave it at this, Jared. With marriage is one of those big things that, and picking a partner in general is such a huge decision that I think nowadays we don't really think too much of, because it's so easy to find someone, whether you want to be an exclusive partner or friends with benefits or whatever you're looking for. Nowadays, it's so easy to come in contact with so many other people. So what this means, though, is that because it's so easy to come into contact with a lot of these people, I think we don't always vet people enough when we get into relationships with them. I think it's really important to ask yourself, what do you want out of a person and out of a relationship? But before you even get there, do you, and I know this sounds very cheesy, but do you love yourself? Because I don't think you can really love someone in a relationship or be in a healthy relationship if you don't take care of yourself first.
I definitely agree with you. It does feel with all the apps and stuff. It certainly feels easier to get into a relationship, and almost as if you skip some of those steps.
Yep.
Like natural progression steps a little bit. Yeah, those were great closing words. I have nothing to add. You did it.
All right.
You did it,
Well,
and I'd only make it worse.
I'm not so sure about that, but I think this has been a great discussion today, Jared. And let us know, people, what your thoughts are on marriage. Even though we've already talked about it, I'm always curious to hear what, other people's perceptions and perspectives are. So you can hit us up on Instagram, Untranslatable Podcast. I kind of enjoyed these polls, Jared, so we might be doing some more polls, or I might be doing some more polls in the future.
Keep it going on the gram, man.
It's kind of fun. So anyways, check us out on Instagram, Untranslatable Podcast. If you want to see our beautiful faces or fancy beards, you can check us out on YouTube, Untranslatable Podcast as well. And also, please, 5-star reviews on iTunes and Stitcher. Let us know how we can make this podcast better for you. So as we say here at the Untranslatable Podcast, dziękujemy, muchas gracias, shisha, and do svidania. That was a fun talk. I'm glad it wasn't all just negative and marriage bashing, because I was a little worried that what it might be.
I don't think I'm a marriage. I think I would have been more of a marriage basher in my younger years, but I don't think I'm a marriage basher anymore. I'm not against marriage.